We got a Marine in the studio today. Brian Wilbur is joining us. Brian Wilbur does business development for Bingo Reverse Mortgage. Tell us, first of all, before we get into what is a reverse mortgage, tell us about your Marine service.
Yeah, so I was honored to serve in the United States Marine Corps. I was part of a helicopter squadron HMT 302 out in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I was a 53 crew chief for you veterans out there, the Super Stallion, the big boy. We picked up the grunts, we took them into the bad places, and we came back.
Wow.
And so it was my honor. Did that for 5 years. Local boy here, went to Cherry Creek. And
did you? When did you graduate?
97.
Okay, I was 2000.
97. Okay, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. We were there at the same time a little bit. I was one of those little freshmen that got thrown in the lockers.
I was maybe the guy throwing you in there, but yeah, no comment. But the Marine Corps got that out of me. So it was a great time. It was my honor.
So when you're a crew chief on a helicopter, you fly on it? You prepare it, or what is your role and responsibility?
So the crew chief's role, and depending on the platform, right? I was on a heavy lift helicopter. We could take 55 combat ready Marines inside, and we also were responsible primarily to do heavy lift. So we would lift Humvees, do things of that nature. But it's the largest, most powerful helo in the free world.
Wow! And
we could virtually outrun a majority of our gun support. But our role really as a crew chief was to make sure that the aircraft was up, ready to go. And when then we would, depending on our mission, whether it was flying out to the ships, bringing the grunts back and forth, or moving around material, logistics, things of that nature, we were part of the crew. So 2 pilots, a crew chief in back. I was also a door gunner, usually had another door gunner with me. Had some fun with a 50 cal out the window a few times, but it was an honor. It was a pleasure. I spent a majority of my time in a flight suit, which is kind of odd for a Marine, but it was absolutely my honor.
Wow, that is so cool. This is one of the things I love about 710 KNUS is not only do our listeners have strong values, our advertisers, our partners have strong pro-American values.
That's why we're here.
And that's part of your heart, man. That's right. And you put blood into it as well. So thank you for your service.
Well, I got a quick question here. Just Brent, you don't have to show us right now, but how many different ways do you think you could hurt Jeff if I said please?
He can kill me very quickly.
I just had to throw that in. Sorry.
If he's getting tucked into a locker, he might have a list somewhere. So I understand his list.
I respect you. Thank you.
I had one of my, this is a little side note. We're going to get into reverse mortgages in a second, but one of my buddies from Cherry Creek High School is a Marine, lost his life in Iraq, Mark Engel. He was a year younger than me, so it would have been 2001.
Okay.
So those guys, he was killed in an IED explosion back before they got the big, heavy, armored. Those guys first went in there, man. They just basic Humvees.
Light skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, no protection.
So some of those guys from Creek gave their lives.
Semper Fi, God bless him.
Yeah, absolutely. Help me understand what is a reverse mortgage, first of all. So you guys are with Bingo Reverse Mortgage. Right. I hear about these. You hear the ads all the time. I'd love to know, first of all, what is one?
Well, reverse mortgages have been around for a little over 60 years, right? And so anything that's that old, right, is going to have a little history.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little baggage, if you know what I mean.
And it's, you've heard different things over the years, but go ahead.
Yeah,
please.
You see the celebrities hawking them, and really our job is to help educate and help inform people. This is a safe product, has been for the last 30 years or so, but it's a lot like your cell phone analogy. I like to use. Remember your first cell phone back in the day?
Yeah.
Right? It's gone through many iterations, many improvements, many updates through the years, and through the last 30 some odd years, it's been improved to a product that's much more mainstream now. And really what it is it's a financial tool that's disguised as a mortgage, right? It doesn't look like a typical 30-year traditional mortgage. It doesn't look like a HELOC, right? It doesn't look like a home equity loan. And I'll talk about those here in a moment. But it's a tool that when used correctly, it can be a game changer for retirement income.
Yeah. So I understand what a basic mortgage is, right? I got a mortgage. I pay it to the bank. There's interest on it. We're paying down the principal over the years. And then in 30 years, we'll finally be done, or 15 years, we'll finally be done. So what exactly is a reverse mortgage?
So a reverse mortgage it's it's really just that simple. It's a mortgage. It's not much more complicated than that. It is a tool for seniors over the age of 62. Typically, there are products for those over the age of 55, but it's a product that allows people to tap into some of their housing wealth in the form of tax-free income. Okay. Now there's no required mortgage payments that need to be made. Okay. And in addition to that, because it's tax-free, there's some other benefits we could talk about in a moment, but really the biggest benefit of a reverse mortgage for a retiree is cash flow, and not just cash flow, but tax-free cash flow. So we kind of have two different clients typically. All right. About 20-25% of our clients, maybe their primary source of income in retirement is Social Security. They're on a little bit lower income spectrum, and they're looking to increase either cash flow or to even get by sometimes. All right. Or to increase just the quality of their life in retirement.
All right. But go on vacation.
Precisely.
Those types of things. Actually have fun. You worked your entire life. Let's go play some golf.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's not a tool of last resort like it used to be thought of. And the reason I say that is because a vast majority of our clients don't quote unquote need a reverse mortgage. Okay. I would say a majority of our clients have $250,000 to $2.5 million saved. Okay. And what they're doing is they're really looking for a way to lessen their tax burden, increase tax flow, or increase tax-free cash flow. And that's really their goal.
So are these people that come with a house they own? So let's say I own a house that do they have an existing mortgage, or they have no mortgage, or
sure?
How does that work?
So the clients that have typically $250,000 or less saved, right? Those clients on that end, they're typically still have a mortgage on the home.
Okay.
Okay. And so just redirecting that mortgage payment back into their income on a weekly or a monthly basis is a game changer right there. All right. Now it is a negatively amortizing loan. All right. And it goes that there's essentially, instead of you paying the mortgage company pays you. Right.
And then they pay down over time, and then eventually the home belongs to them, or how does that work?
So that's one of the big myths out there.
Yeah.
The bank never owns your home.
Right.
The government never takes your home. As long as you pay your insurance, all right, and pay your taxes, HOA fees if you're in a covenant controlled area, as long as you pay those, you can remain in your home until there's an event where you no longer live in your home. You move to a nursing home, or there's a death or something like that.
Oh,
but when you look at the mortgage payment that you're making, and you especially flash that against the appreciation value here in Colorado, we're just in a unique place. We're not Texas or Georgia. Our appreciation and the way that paces with that negative amortization, it's worth it to have what we call a housing wealth assessment done, where it really helps you say, hey, here's how much we're sitting on, and here's the different options if we were to utilize this. Now, it's not for everyone, right? Even though virtually anyone can find a way to use this, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's worth it for their situation. You really got to grind in and understand the benefits according to what you're trying to achieve. So I like to talk about somebody who's not a good candidate for reverse mortgage, because that's very important.
Let's start there, and then I'd like to hear who's a good candidate.
Absolutely. Right. So somebody who's not a good candidate is somebody who's looking to move in the next 2 years. Okay. This is really designed originally to be a long-term housing solution. All right. So the value of this is in staying in your home longer rather than less time. So if you're going to move in the next 2, maybe 3 years, this might not be a good solution for you. Okay. Somebody else, it might not be a good solution if somebody's trying, if they're attempting to, for example, delay taking Social Security, right? This could be a good tool for them to use, or they may want to wait, because it's all depending on age with a reverse mortgage as well, right? How much money you can pull out is depending on your age, the value of the home, the current interest rate. So there are strategies and techniques about the timing you want to use when to pull it out, right? So, but reverse mortgage, it's kind of like, I like to use the analogy like the Super Bowl, right? Remember a few years ago, the Super Bowl team, they're coming in to win in the fourth quarter. It was like the last drive. They got a shot to go down and win it. Everything you could ask for in a Super Bowl game, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't have, 11 players on offense. They only had 10. And so they went out on the field, right? And they played against the defense who had 11 players. They only had 10 and they won. You remember that?
No,
because it never happened.
Okay,
right? Yeah.
Going,
it's because it never happened.
I'd like to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why is a professional team would never go into the Super Bowl, the championship game, without all their players on the field. Right. And that analogy translates very well. I didn't come up with this. I borrowed this from a colleague. But this analogy translates very well when you're in the Super Bowl of your life, when you're in the Super Bowl of your retirement, right? It's the last time you can make, it's the worst time to make a financial decision that's not in your best interest, right? And so are you the type of person that is going to go out there with just 10 players? Or are you going to bring that 11th player? That 11th man is the reverse mortgage, because you got pension, you got income, insurance, your savings, all of these different tools, but that 11th player is the reverse mortgage. How does it shield you from taxes? How does it protect you in that way? So that's what we invite people to take a look at, is whether a reverse mortgage is correct for you. You're not going to know until you know the facts. And so really that housing wealth assessment, it's going to give you the peace of mind, at least let you know what you're sitting on.
We're talking with Brian Wilbur. He does business development for Bingo Reverse Mortgage. They're a partner here at 710 KNUS. Marine, I was going to say former Marine, but you guys aren't former Marines. You're always a Marine, right?
You got that.
So he shares those pro-American values, which I know is so important. Those of us that want to put our financial trust in someone that shares our values, well, Bingo Reverse Mortgage shares those values with us. So you mentioned kind of somebody that's going to move quickly. Maybe I think you said delaying Social Security might not be a good candidate. Who is a good candidate for a reverse mortgage?
So a good candidate would be somebody, the nuts and bolts are over the age of 62. There are some products for those over the age of 55, but typically 50% equity or better in their home. All right. But really a good fit for somebody else, somebody who has multiple assets or a little bit broader portfolio, is to understand that the reverse mortgage is for somebody that's proactive. They believe in insurance. Okay. They believe in hedging against the unknowns in the future. All right. They've got insurance on their car. They've got life insurance, right? They've got insurance on their health, but do they have retirement income insurance? Right. And so nothing's certain in the future. We're all living longer. There's a lot of market volatility, political turmoil. Inflation is another one, right? There's a lot of unknowns. Who knew inflation would go 8-12%?
I mean, just to operate at the same level of lifestyle you had 2 years ago, you need to have $11,000 more dollars in your pocket. Just to have that same lifestyle. It's crazy.
Yeah. So to kind of answer your question there, the type of person that this is good fit for, right, is that type of person who says, I don't want to go out on the field, right, with just 10 players. I want all 11 players. I want them all working at the highest level. I want them on the field all the time, right? And that type of client understands that a reverse mortgage is just a financial tool, but it's going to give you that best chance, to win in retirement. And that's what we're trying to achieve.
So somebody calls Bingo Reverse Mortgage. What's the process you take them through? This may be a good fit for them. It may not be. Yeah. I imagine there's not a ton of pressure if it's not the right fit, right? So walk us through what somebody's going to experience when they start to work with you.
Precisely. As I mentioned earlier, listen, that housing wealth assessment is really so critical, and its value, it takes about 20 minutes, right? We do them all day long. We've got a whole team. They're fantastic. They're going to pour through and say, hey, here's what you're sitting on. Here's what your options would be. And then at that point, it really makes sense to either go one or two ways. One, let's have a deeper conversation. Let's unpack the rest of your retirement and how it's structured. Let me understand your short-term, your long-term goals. And then at that point, we're in a position to where we can advise one way or the other. And we work hand in hand more often than not with your financial advisor. All right. We're working with the kids. We're working with the family. This is a kitchen table type of discussion. So it becomes really clear once you know the facts and what your options are, how much money you're sitting on, whether this is something to pursue now, to pursue in 2 or 3 years, right? Or to pursue maybe at no point. This might not be a good fit for you. So if it's a good fit, we tell you that. But if it's not a good fit, we're the first to tell you that as well.
I think that's important. Yeah. I think people, especially with a decision of this magnitude, you rightfully get a little nervous about what this could mean for you and your family. those types of kitchen countertop, kitchen table discussions involving the family, I think is very important, right? That's the legacy. That's what they want to leave for their kids and grandchildren.
Like I said earlier, this is not the time, right, to be an amateur. This is not the time to make a bad decision. You need to do your due diligence. You need to do your research. All right. But the beauty of this product is it's already proven. I mean, they've done the math, they've done the science, the research, Texas Tech, MIT, Ohio State. There have been some juggernauts within the financial industry that have built out the models, and they all came to the same conclusion ultimately that I believe it's Robert Merton. I think he's a Nobel Peace Prize economist that won the award, and he studied it and he came to the conclusion that to not factor in housing wealth into your retirement income conversation, to not do that is a huge mistake. All right. It doesn't mean you should do it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. All right. But at the end of the day, you got to know the facts. It's your responsibility.
We're talking with Brian Wilbur, business development with Bingo Reverse Mortgage. How do people connect with you? What the website, phone number?
Website's easiest. And this housing assessment, go to www.bingoreversemortgage.com. You can sign up for a free assessment. It takes about 20 minutes. We do them all day long, and we'd love to get you the answers you need so you can make the decision that's best for you.
Now, Brian, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
An answer that you're hoping. Now, the first thing that I hear when you're saying, this is tax-free income, like, wait, hang on a sec. How can I possibly use the equity in my home and turn that into tax-free income? How does that possibly work? How do I figure this out? Explain it to me, please.
So let's say, for example, somebody owns a $600,000 home. Okay. They own it free and clear. And they want to pull out $300,000 in a reverse mortgage, right? And they don't want a payment, but they just want that sitting in a line of credit. All right. And that's a whole other show we could unpack there with the line of credit and how it grows at the same rate as the interest. That's a different show. But they put $300,000 in this line of credit that's available to them, right? This line of credit can never be canceled, right? Back in 2008, a lot of people found out about HELOCs, how those get canceled. It's non-revocable in any way. Pay those taxes, your insurance, your HOA fees. But this line of credit, for a lot of the models we see, is turn it on at 62 and let it grow. Let the interest, the negative amortizing interest, accrue as well, right? So let's say you've got a $300,000 line of credit. That means you have a $300,000 reverse mortgage, right? At some point, that reverse mortgage is going to negatively amortize to 360. At some point, right? That line of credit would also grow to 360 at that same point. Okay, so follow me here, because that's just step one. Imagine if you allow those taxes, and take it to your tax guy. Everybody's in a different situation. But imagine you take a mandatory withdrawal out of your IRA, which generates a, 1099? Ordinary income, but you use that. All right. You use that to pay off the $60,000 of interest that's accrued on your mortgage. You take that tax break that year, you're above the $24,000, $26,000 threshold, right? So that generates a 1098. So now you've got the tax benefit there as well. One of the more popular ways, though, and to just be real quick here, is actually using the reverse mortgage to preserve your portfolio. Don't choke the horse you're riding. Markets go up, markets go down. All the long-term cash survivability rates are always better when you don't tap into anything more than that Monte Carlo, that 4%, right? So if you can stay under that threshold and use tax-free income from the equity in your home to supplement in down years, let that portfolio continue to build. And we've seen that over the last few years as well, depending on if it's a bear market or not, right? There's about 42 different strategies when it comes to the advanced level. So
there's advanced level.
There are.
Yeah.
Grandma and grandpa, they need some extra cash flow. They're tight. We can help them. That's a traditional reverse mortgage. We've got proprietary jumbo products that go up to $5 million. And it's really about tax shelters.
Okay, so
stacking tax.
If I try to boil this down and see if just the skeleton, and maybe the middle school level, what I'm hearing is you are taking some of the equity out of your home and you're putting that into a line of credit, and because of how the function of that vehicle, it then can offset or replace some of the retirement income that you might have, and then that ends up offsetting your tax liability, which then ends up making it tax-free, type of an idea.
Exactly.
All
And
right, cool.
the only thing I'd add to that is it's non-provisional and non-taxable income, and that means it does not count against your Medicare benefits as well. So tax-free, non-provisional, no-brainer for some people.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You got that all together?
That's interesting.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
It is. It's fascinating.
That is.
I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be in reverse
Well,
mortgage space,
so I
you know
want
what
to talk
mean?
to you about this real quick. So joining us is Brian Wilbur. He's with business development for Bingo Reverse Mortgage. And also in the studio is his wife, Holly Wilbur. How'd you two decide to get into this? What you're a Marine, you love this country, you decided to devote your life to this. What was it that got you excited?
Yeah, so back in 2007 or so, I got my start in the financial services industry, life and health insurance primarily. Great time to start, by the way, in 2007. But fast forward, I'd been in the financial industry in some way or other for a few years, and Holly actually grew up around the mortgage real estate industry from the kitchen table all the way up. Her father was involved in it and was never interested in it. You know, it's got all the negative connotations to it, all the things people think that are bad about it. So was never curious. Wasn't even of the age group really, right? 45 years old. But then I started hearing about 10,000 people are turning 62 every day.
That's right. Yeah, Wall Street Journal
right?
about that.
Yeah, so the 87% of seniors are bringing housing wealth into retirement. We're talking about 6 trillion with a T. So people are living longer, right? They're staying in their homes. This is a tool that's designed to keep them in their homes. And oh, by the way, if you're crafty, right, there's ways to utilize this to lower your tax exposure. So the potential, this will be mainstream in 5 years. In 5 years,
I hear a lot about it already.
Hear this quote: reverse mortgages will be mainstream. So I got into this because I have a passion for how it impacts people. I love saving people from having to pay Uncle Sam too much money. That's awesome. That's great. I get off on it. But it's grandma and grandpa that are struggling. He passes away. She loses pension. She loses his Social Security. She owns a home, but she can't even go to lunch with her grandkids. When I make that impact and I put a little money in her pocket every month for the rest of her life, that's why I got involved with it.
Brian Wilbur. I love that, man. Brian Wilbur, business development with Bingo Reverse Mortgage. Also joining us, Holly Wilbur, reverse mortgage specialist. All that, and you can connect with them and get the details and just start the process or listen, see if it's the right fit for you at bingoreversemortgage.com. bingoreversemortgage.com. Brian, thanks so much for being with us.
Fantastic.
Thanks for being a partner with 710 KNUS,
thank you
man.
so much.
Thank you for your service to this country.
Yes, thank you.
That is awesome. Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve